Hello. We are very sorry about what happened yesterday. You see, we had recorded the episode. We recorded the chapter and everything. Because Bringer even had a few parts that he commented on and talked about at length.
Yeah, I did.
However, Dinobot apparently read the rest of the story. And the stupidity of it enraged him so much that he destroyed the file. We are currently distracting Dinobot with a marathon of Sonic shows and series. We are currently on Satam right now. We can assume that we can only keep him distracted until we are done with, say, the ending of Sonic X.
Yeah, because it takes a strong mind and a good funny bone to sit through Sonic Boom.
And I don't think Dinobot has the funny bone for Sonic Boom. He barely made it 2 episodes into Adventures before he went back into homicidal mode. So instead, we are going to give you Bringer's thoughts on 2 important bits that he thought was interesting as we proceed to sum up the fic.
Okay, so the chapter starts off with after the coronation, and Nyx airs out her complaints, and for some odd reason, everybody stays in the palace. Don't know why they're not immediately going home. The fic doesn't even say why the girls are, Twilight and Nyx aren't going immediately back home, thus that they are staying in the palace. I swear, if the story does not provide an adequate excuse for why Twilight's not immediately teleporting back to Ponyville, I will proceed to point out the entire problems with the very idea of Twilight even needing to stay at Canterlot, or why everybody thinking that Twilight would need to stay there would even be a dumb idea in the first place. Oh, and you will hear me rant about it. So after she wakes up, Twilight teleports Spike and Nyx off to school. And you can see this joke coming, can't you? And here is where we meet one of the parts that I had to complain about. It seems that one of the things that Twilight needed to talk about was guard duty and picking her own set of royal guards. Here are my problems. Number 1, Twilight is very much the type of princess who doesn't want to see as bigger than you. She wants to be seen as on the same level, even though she has powers far above everybody else. So thus, the idea of her having royal guards is antithetical to her character, plus she wouldn't think that she would need them. She would think that, hey, having royal guards might cause ponies to fear me. And we see that Twilight's one of her biggest flaws and bigger points is her modesty. So of course, her having royal guards would make no sense, because that would make her feel like she is bigger than everybody else. Now, I could see Trixie doing that. Dang straight! Everybody needs to know Trixie's the best. But Twilight, no, she would object to it. My second problem is, this is the exact same thing as giving out bodyguards to Superman. I kind of don't see the reason why a guy who is near invincible to almost everything in existence needs bodyguards. Nor do I see the reason why Batman would need it. You just don't give superpowered beings bodyguards. They're kind of superfluous. Now, the only reason why Celestia and Luna have them? To protect every pony from them. But since the idea of Twilight going evil is just so silly, it's not even funny. And yeah, that goes for several different bad fics where they try to make Twilight go evil. I don't see this working out. So, no. Heck, I even have an unpublished fic in mind where Twilight proceeds to show Shining why the idea of her having royal guards is utterly stupid and unnecessary. She then gets a bunch of servants, 4 identical mares who keep themselves in disguise, including 1 sea pony, so that way they can proceed to do their work. However, once again, my problems with this occur. Why wouldn't Twilight, a mare who loves Ponyville a lot, say, I'm sorry, but I prefer Lotus and Hallow back in Ponyville? And why wouldn't Twilight also say she would prefer to have her friends do it? See, here's the central problem with a lot of these evil Twilights. You don't really think that Twilight wouldn't go, now that I'm evil, my first evil opportunity is to hire all my friends! She's going to do that. She is going to hire her best friends for work. Hell, even the finale showed this by making the main 5 part of a council. Why do you think there is a round table? Twilight and the others still meet. Twilight knows that as powerful as a maid she is, she's not as strong as Applejack or as fast as Rainbow Dash. She would instead have them back her up, use their own independent skills to help her. They would work together. They would be a council. So no, she wouldn't be having other servants. She would be having her friends. She would instead be hiring them out and giving them jobs. Nepotism, I know, but Twilight would still do it because she knows her friends are closest. And then the most obvious punchline to the most obvious setup in this entire story hits like a Mack truck as we find out that Twilight, in a frazzled state, completely forgot it was Saturday. There, I just saved you 20 boobless hours. And now, back to our story. The Royal Carrot sat down in front of Sugar Cube Corner. Twilight sat down to the street. The guards made to follow her, but she motioned them to wait for the carriage. There seems to be a power that Twilight has that could really make this easier. She hesitated at the door, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. I mean, there's a certain ability of hers that would make it so that she wouldn't have to take a royal carriage. Oh, what is it? Nix and Spike were sitting at the table, munching on the remains of a couple of muffins. Peewee was between them at the table, pecking at crumbs. Nix was brooding, listlessly flipping through one of her books. She barely glanced up when Twilight went to the table. Twilight winced. This was going to be an epic sulk. Why? Nix, why aren't you playing with your friends or just, reading books at the library? Twilight sat down. I'm sorry, Nix, she said simply. I let myself get in a panic and... She put her hoof on Nix's. I'm so sorry. She looked at Spike. Both of you. It's okay, Nix said. Her voice was different. But at least she didn't pull away. How long have you been here? Nix looked over at the remains of the meal. About 2.5 muffins, she said, and a glass of milk. Mr. Cake let us run a tab, Spike said. We would have gone to the library, but they're closed today and they already changed the locks. Wait. Why? Why is that not her home? Why would they change the locks? Why is it Twilight sitting at the library? Vic? You got exactly 2 paragraphs to answer before I break you. Already? Twilight said. Dismay in her voice was obvious. She shook her head. They would have, seeing as he had no longer the librarian, or how it hurt to even think that. Didn't you have a packed lunch? Twilight finished slamming silently, and Spike emptied the bag of wax fruit and plastic chunk of jewelry on the table. The wax apple was tasty, but I'm probably going to be constipated later, he informed her. She ground her face stuff. I really was flipping out, wasn't I? Spike shrugged. It wasn't your free... Twilight has no reason for her not to be at her library home! Warned ya. Thick. And people who Risley asked this question, sit down. Think about Twilight's character. Think about who Twilight is. Sit down and think about it. Rack your little brains. I know it's kind of hard to do. And think, why would Twilight move into a castle place? And if your reason for that is, and if your answer is anywhere between because she's a princess or because of any type of rules, I want you to stop, pause for a moment, and think about it closely. If those really were the rules, then why didn't Twilight stay at her castle dorm back when she was a student? And then I want you to sit down, think about Twilight as a character, who she is, and then think about the answer again. Now, I assume if you're anything like we hate what happened to MLP forums and some other lame-ass critics, the answer's probably stupefying you, because you can't think out your way out of a paper bag of anything that doesn't revolve around how dark could I make a story or how sad I can make it. Because Twilight sees herself as a mayor of the people. Why do you think the 4th season ended with Twilight inviting all of the people of Ponyville to the castle? Why do you think she has an open door policy? She is a mayor of the public, which means that her first request would be, can I live in the library? To which Celestia would say, sure, knock yourself out. Or Celestia would even request Twilight would still live in the library. Because that's who Celestia is. That's who Twilight is. And I know what you're thinking. But wouldn't Twilight still need a few lessons? Yeah. This is where the problem comes. See, Twilight has this thing where she can teleport. Which means if she needs to go to a lesson for Celestia, she can just go boop. Especially since it seems like Canterlot is within walking distance of Ponyville. One short train ride later, boop, done. Twilight can also fly. And flying's easy. You see, this is what I never get. People who make these complaints seem to forget how useful flying really is. It's kind of like how in the ending of DBZ, where people are complaining about Goku abandoning his family, I used to do that, but then I thought the problem with that is Gohan, Videl, Pan can fly, sends ki, and move a house. There's literally no reason for them not to move from Mount Paozu to wherever Goku is now. Then again, I also continue to complain about how they say, wow, it's been 7 years since we all met. Bulma, you have a husband and son who could fly you. You have cars. You have no reason to fly over to meet your friends. Krillin has no reason not to fly over to Goku. So yeah, flying over to meet her friends is easy. Why not do that? But since she's a princess, again. Well, and I know what you're also about to say. Well, the show never said it. That's because the writers sat down, thought real hard about it, thought real hard about the audience, and realized that kids don't need their hands held. They figured out that the kids are smart enough to come up to conclusions themselves. That, of course, Twilight wouldn't need to go over to Caroline. She has her own home. She can stay there and teleport. But I suppose since it's obvious that a lot of you guys don't have the thinking abilities of kids, you need your hands held. Well, I'm not going to hold your hands for you. I'm sorry. I never have and never will. I like to think that my audience is intelligent and that my subscribers actually have brains. So no, this makes no sense. This makes no sense for Twilight not to live in the library. Season 4 made more sense because Twilight has no reason to move. Hell, even if you were to give her own palatial estate, she could still make that her summer home. Give me a few minutes, I could probably find a few other princesses who have a similar summer home and tend to live with the people. Oh, and those are real-world princesses, you dorks. Nyx was still brewing. She was still flipping through her book in front of her around a pointed manner. She suddenly stopped to stare at the page. The heck is all that about? Nyx said, turning the book around for Spike to point at a page. Spike made an awkward face. It's kind of with how babies are made. Nyx took a second look. Seriously, how Charlie explained it, she explained. Twilight looked over at the book. Yes, as luck would have it, Camel Sutra. Ahem. Twilight says he plucked the book deftly out of Nyx's hose and magically dropped it in her own saddlebag. That reading's a little too grown up for you. Well, you gave it to me, Nyx murmured sullenly. Twilight ignored her and gave Spike a look. It's a little too mature for you too, mister, she said. Spike gave her a look back. Oh, please. You have me resell all the books in the library twice a week. So, Twilight, how much longer do you think Legendbreaker's gonna do this fic before he starts giving us a break while he reads a comic or something? Oh, I won't give him too much longer. He's already ranting and getting mad at this story already. Well, I do have some good news. This fic's over? Princess Celestia sent us some help. Oh. I have 4 hoof mayas now. Don't know why. They're very interesting ponies. Nyx pricked her curiosity pink. And they have a very interesting secret. I'm interested to see you find out what it is. Twilight gave her daughter a teasing grin. She knew from experience that the quickest way to get Nyx out of a sulk was to get her curious. I just so love it that Penstroke never had the idea that Nyx could possibly be moving. But then again, Penstroke is a better writer. Actually, I know of several writers who are better than Reality Check. There's K-Cat, Aesthetic B, Wanderer D, Josh Scorcher, Matt Mercer. Twilight sighed. Nyx, this whole princess thing, it's gonna be hard. A lot harder than I expected. Afraid it's gonna take a lot of mistakes before I get it right. I need you to be patient with me, okay? Most important thing in the world to me, and I don't want you to forget that, no matter what mistakes I made. Forgive me? I still don't see what Nyx has to be grumbling about. She could just still move back at the library. She could still have a lot of fun with her friends. Tell you what, why don't we go back to the castle and you can meet them? Then we'll see if you can tell me. I'll be in court most of the day. Again, I've already shown, I think my fic Twilight Time has other reasons for why Twilight would still be at home. Hey, I'm gonna be kind of busy, Spike says as they tripped out the door. It was a bright sunny day and they squinted against the Sunday. It's my training day. Twilight paused in mid-stride. Training day? Training day. Don't you remember? I kind of tried to forget. Signing up with Princess Key is what me and Bright Eyes to train together at least twice a week for, you know. Oh, God, no, fuck that. Meanwhile, she tries for the Golden Logs Library. And the next chapter is all about Spike training, because apparently somebody wants to see that. And to you two people, good for you. I hope you enjoy your lives. But since I have no caring about the Bright Eyes or Spike or anything, I choose to skip that chapter. You'll thank me later.